Hey, happy Monday, YouTube traders. This is William from Bearable Traders, and today I'm going to quickly share with you my trade on Disney, really quick. And then I want to let you listen to about 4 minutes of a talk I had with a trader this morning, Brian from Denver from our chat, who's going to be transitioning from Sim to Real soon. He's been in Sim 3 months, and he had an interesting perspective about Sim that some of you can definitely learn from if you're still in Sim or if you how you use it, okay? Not only does he use it for the psychological reasons to practice the discipline, trying to treat it as real as best he can, but he also uses it to allow himself to do bad behavior and to experiment with a ton of different ways of trading, things to do, behavior that he knows is probably not the best, experience it at least somehow in Sim to get it out of his system from what he's learned from other traders and a friend that trades in another chat room as well. So it'll be about 4 minutes. So listen to that, especially if you're in Sim and wanting to figure out how to best utilize it. But first, on my trade on on Disney, this is a tough trade, all right? I have a lot of different setups, and I learned this so long ago. Even dollars hold like magic sometimes. They just do. So if I can combine even dollar psychology of 140, okay? Look at this. This candle's low was 140.01. For some reason, people love the psychological issues of even dollars, especially on large price stocks. Now, it has to combine with other things, though. So when I see that even dollar holding with a slight increase in volume, this hadn't formed yet, okay? But as I saw it hit it holding, and then I saw, all right, shooting star on increased volume on a stock that gapped up against the SPY gap. The SPY did not gap up, but Disney did. So even though it's in a downtrend, it gapped up. So that got me interested in it, okay? Now look at this. Look where I bought it down here. Look at that low. Look at that low. It's in new lows of everything, all right? It's in a huge 5-minute ORB potential. But what did I see? I saw the shooting star at the bottom of a trend. And then I saw it go back down to this level with very little volume. And all it was flashes of green on the time and sales, which means people were either covering their shorts, getting the heck out, and people were buying. And there was very little people shorting into that. So when I combined the time and sales with the shooting star and the psychological level of even dollar with the gap up against the SPY, that's really hard to do, and I get that, but boy, it's a really, really interesting setup. And you've got a lot of different things. That's what I always try to share. If you can have a lot of different things telling you the same thing on different time frames, with different indicators, with different confirmations, with different psychological issues, that's when all the different traders will be making the same decision, but they might not know that they're all making the same decision, but they're all buying at the same time. Even if someone's short and profiting, that's the same order as someone buying right here for a long bounce. So if I can capture that, and it's hard, if I can capture it, it's a really, really cool thing to be able to learn how to do. And then how do I, well, the risk was here, okay? A low a day. My profit was here. That was about a 2.5 to 1, but really it was at this 200 level. Then I did it at VWAP, which is about a 3.5 to 1. Then I did it right under this 50. I specifically thought that this was going to have a really hard time to get over the 50 on the 1, which was combining with the 50 on the 2, which had all these moving averages in my way. So you know I don't like to trade into moving averages, but how do moving averages break? When you get something like this, daily gap up, trying to bust through and being independent of SPY and finding a low bottom for a potential very good risk to reward. And even then, I profited out at the first moving average, knowing that, all right, maybe it'll be one profit, then I'll come back and get stopped out for break even. So I'm still using them to my advantage. And then here was my other trade. Shouldn't have done this one. Should have just been done. I tried to use this bounce, and this was just a bad trade. It was under view up. It was getting rejected by all these moving averages at this point, and this moving average was not being respected. Look, it went right through it, went right through it, went right through it, went right through it. And so I tried to catch this bounce. It was a dumb play. That's not a good setup. And I got stopped out for a loss, and it wasn't nearly, the loss obviously was not nearly as big as my risk to reward here, but still, that is just a dumb trade. That's like a D minus setup for me. Shouldn't have taken it. Okay, so now let's listen to Brian, okay? I'm not going to have any video here. Just listen in, and I'll just have my, maybe I'll just, yeah, his chart's pulled up. All right, so it's not going to be anything to look at. Just listen to what he says for about 4 minutes.
So,
Yeah, definitely. And remind me, how long have you been in sim now?
I started in May.
May. So how many months is that?
Third month.
Third
July,
month.
at the end of the third month, yeah.
Okay, great. So you've been in sim for 3 months, which is fantastic. You saw that interview with Jeremy Newsom, and yeah, you just explained what you learned from that. And now when you transition over to real, you know you need to have your rules, but more importantly, you know you need to work on your, for you it's meditation, but really it's just the psychology and the ability to adhere to your rules by having a calm, clear mind when you're in the market. And so when you transition over to real, those things have to be in place before you make that move, it sounds like, correct?
Yeah, that's kind of the way I'm selling it to myself, so to speak. Like, you can do this when you achieve these other things, and I'm kind of tying it all together. And the other thing that I kind of find fascinating with trading is, you know, because I know that I have to have a set of rules, and I know that I need a strategy, but I also think that when you start, you don't really have any idea how to do all that. So that's kind of part of the reason why, you know, while I'm trying to have small size, every once in a while I'll throw a larger size out there. And I probably do things that aren't in my best interest every time, but I look at it as you sort of have to do those things while you're learning. At least that's the way I look at it. Like, you need to learn things you should do and things that you shouldn't do. And it's a process to figure out, well, what works best for me. Because once again, I mean, I have a friend that's trading, and he's in another chat room, and you know, when he started, he did fine, and then he kept trying to follow the guy running the chat room, or, you know, maybe not follow him, but using a similar style to him, and he just started getting killed, so he had to revamp everything that he was doing. And from talking to him, it's like, well, you don't really know what works and what doesn't work until you try everything. So that's kind of the way that I look at the sim, is not that you shouldn't take it seriously and you shouldn't treat it as real, but you don't really know until you know. So you have to do some things in there that maybe you wouldn't normally want to do. At least that's the way I look at it, to try to learn, you know, the rules of the game and how everything works. Because I think we've all been there where you look at a setup and you buy and it just goes the opposite way. And it's like, well, you have to learn how to get out of stuff and not freak out, or, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, it makes perfect sense. So not only are you using the sim as the ability to learn your setups, learn how to trade, you're also allowing yourself to make mistakes and to do behavior that you probably know you don't want to do in real, to get it out of your system and kind of just have that experience is what it sounds like, right?
yeah, because, I mean, like, when you started, I would imagine when you first started trading, because this is what happened to my buddy, you know, he held through a pullback that he shouldn't have held through, and he had to go through the mental pain of real money, of having a mortgage, you know, a margin call and all that kind of stuff. And I've held through pullbacks and they've never come back. So I'm like, okay, mental note, you can't do that, because sometimes it comes back, but sometimes you're down $2,000 in 25 minutes. I don't want to go through that. So I kind of think that, you know, everybody learns in their own way, but I learn by beating my head against the wall, in a good way and a bad way. I mean, sometimes you get a lot of positive reinforcement, but sometimes you get some negative pain. And I think that learning how to the market, you pretty much, in my opinion, I'm like, well, learning, I pretty much need to experience all of that, because I would imagine when I go live, I'm going to experience all of that. You know what I mean? I mean, I seems like you're pretty successful, but I'm sure you have bad days as well. I don't think it's an unavoidable thing. So I'm like, well, you have to learn how you're going to handle those bad days while you're in the sim, because if you have real money in the market, you might just sit there and freeze and watch it go down for 20. You know what I mean? And
Heck yeah, man. No, all that's fantastic. And I'm going to share this with other people, because you're making some really great points about how to transition and how to use sim that a lot of people might not think of, right? We think of sim as being as real as possible, following all our rules at all times, but you have a slightly different perspective that you can still use sim at different times using these different methods. Sometimes you'll want to just work on your discipline no matter what, right? Do only the right things. And at other times, still in sim, you'll want to allow yourself to have those different experiences like what you just described. So that's really great to share, and I'm going to share that with people. So thank you so much, Brian.